Story 1 of 6. Anzac Day 2026 Public Holidays, Trading Laws, and Commemorations across Australia. Anzac Day 2026 Public Holidays, Trading Laws, and Commemorations across Australia. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Anzac Day 2026 falls on Saturday, April 25th, and commemorates 111 years since the Gallipoli landing, 1915. Only NSW, WA, and the ACT have an additional public holiday on Monday, April 27, 2026, for workers. Queensland, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, and the Northern Territory do not have an extra public holiday on Monday, April 27, 2026. NSW's Retail Trading Amendment, Anzac Day Trading Hours, Act 2024 forces major retailers, Woolworths, Coles, Aldi, Bunnings, Kmart, Target, Big W, Westfield, to remain closed all day on April 25, 2026. In Queensland, major grocery chains, Coles, Woolworths, Bunnings, Kmart, will remain closed on Anzac Day, while independent food retailers and essential services, pharmacies, petrol stations, cafes, can trade. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1, News Kamau, states that the ACT government initially refused to recognise Saturday, April 25th, as a public holiday, but Article 2, News Kamau, does not mention this detail, only confirming the ACT has both Saturday and Monday as public holidays. Article 1, News Kamau, claims WA's double demerits apply to drunk driving and running red lights, but Article 2, News Kamau, does not specify these additional offences for WA. Article 3, ABC, states Queensland's Industrial Relations Minister Jared Bleegey confirmed in January 2026 that Anzac Day would not be substituted, but Article 1, News Kamau, does not mention this confirmation. This story was covered by ABC News, news.com.au, and SBS News. Story 2 of 6. Geological study reveals the formation timeline of the 12 Apostles' sea stacks. Geological study reveals the formation timeline of the 12 Apostles' sea stacks. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The 12 Apostles' limestone layers formed between 16 million and 8.6 million years ago, with the landmass rising from the ocean 8.6 million years ago. The study used microfossils, foraminifera, embedded in limestone to date the rock layers, published in the Australian Journal of Earth Sciences Star. The 12 Apostles are actually 7 limestone stacks, not 12, with erosion forming them in the last 20,000 years as sea levels rose after the last glacial maximum. The region's cliffs include Gellibrand Marl, 15 to 16 million years old, and Port Campbell limestone, grey and yellow layers, topped by Hessa clay. The study combined previously unpublished 1960s research with modern fieldwork to create the most complete geological timeline of the Apostles. But not all outlets told the same story. The ABC states the Gellibrand Marl formed from about 16 million to 14.1 million years ago, while The Guardian describes it as 15 million years old without a range. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Story 3 of 6. Anzac Day 2026 dawn services and events across Australia and New Zealand. Anzac Day 2026 dawn services and events across Australia and New Zealand. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The NSW Anzac Day dawn service will be held at the Cenotaph, Martin Place, Sydney, beginning at 4:20 a.m. on April 25, 2026, marking the time of the 1915 Gallipoli landings. The Australian War Memorial in Canberra will host a dawn service from 5:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. on April 25, 2026, with pre-dawn readings from soldiers' letters and diaries starting at 4:30 a.m. The Sydney dawn service will be broadcast live on ABC TV, ABC iView, and the ABC Listen app from 4:20 a.m. AEST on April 25, 2026. The Shrine of Remembrance in Melbourne will host a dawn service beginning at 5:30 a.m. and ending around 6:30 a.m. on April 25, 2026. The Anzac Day dawn service in Brisbane will be held at Anzac Square, starting at 4:28 a.m. on April 25, 2026, with road closures beginning at 3 a.m. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states the Sydney Dawn service runs from 4:20 a.m. to 5:20 a.m., while Article 2 does not specify an end time but mentions it runs until 5:20 a.m., implying a possible discrepancy in duration clarity. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Story 4 of 6. Microsoft and Meta announce AI-driven layoffs and heavy AI investments. Microsoft and Meta announce AI-driven layoffs and heavy AI investments. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Meta will lay off approximately 8,000 employees, about 10% of its workforce, effective May 20, 2026, as part of a plan to boost efficiency and offset AI investments. Meta will also cancel about 6,000 open job roles. Meta's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, stated in January 2026 earnings calls that AI is making some hiring unnecessary, with plans to spend between $115 billion and $135 billion on AI in the fiscal year. Microsoft is offering voluntary buyouts to about 7% of its American workforce, roughly 8,000 employees, where the sum of their age and years at the company equals 70 or more. Microsoft announced plans to invest $25 billion in Australia's AI and supercomputing capacity over the next 3 years, as reported in April 2026. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian states Microsoft forecast $100 billion in AI infrastructure spending in July 2025, while analysts now estimate $110 billion to $120 billion, but this range is not mentioned in Newscomer. The Guardian mentions Microsoft's AI business is larger than some of its biggest franchises, but Newscomer does not provide a direct comparison to other Microsoft businesses. This story was covered by The Guardian and news.com.au. Story 5 of 6. FIA confirms F1 rule changes after driver safety and energy management concerns. FIA confirms F1 rule changes after driver safety and energy management concerns. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Rule changes agreed on April 20, 2026, by FIA, team principals, power unit manufacturers, and F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali, subject to ratification by the World Motorsport Council before the Miami Grand Prix on May 3, 2026. Qualifying recharge limit reduced from 8 megajoules to 7 megajoules to encourage flat-out laps without tactical energy recovery. Superclipping recharge limit increased from 250 kilowatts to 350 kilowatts to reduce lift and coast maneuvering at the end of straights. Maximum boost power capped at 150 kilowatts to limit closing speeds and prevent high-speed collisions. New safety protocols for race starts, including warning lights for slow-moving cars, will be trialed in Miami. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian states FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem's quote explicitly, while ABC does not include it in its report. The Guardian mentions the Suzuka accident involving Oliver Bearman as a specific safety concern, but ABC does not reference this incident by name. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Story 6 of 6. FARA by-election, coalition preferences One Nation over independent Michelle Milthorpe. FARA by-election, coalition preferences One Nation over independent Michelle Milthorpe. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Liberal and National parties will preference One Nation candidate David Farley over independent Michelle Milthorpe in the FARA by-election. Michelle Milthorpe is a 47-year-old teacher from Jindera, NSW, running as an independent in the FARA by-election. David Farley, the One Nation candidate, is a 69-year-old local agribusiness consultant. The FARA by-election is triggered by the retirement of former opposition leader Susan Ley, who announced her departure after a leadership challenge in early 2026. Michelle Milthorpe's campaign is backed by Climate 200, a funding vehicle linked to the Teal independent movement. But not all outlets told the same story. Newscomer states Michelle Milthorpe was placed 9th on the Liberals' How to Vote card, while The Guardian does not specify her exact position but confirms she is placed below One Nation. Newscomau claims Milthorpe was placed 9th on the Liberals card, but The Guardian's mock how-to-vote card from Risa Butkowski's website lists Milthorpe in 9th position, aligning with Newscomau's claim, not a contradiction, but clarification. Guardian mentions Milthorpe's daughters were aged 8 and 5 when they disclosed the sexual assault, while Newscomau does not provide specific ages. This story was covered by The Guardian and news.com.au.